Hey everyone, this is Ross. It's that time of the year again. I'm doing some much needed pond maintenance. I'm just filling up the pond at the minute because it's evaporated with all the warm weather we've been having lately. I put in a large dose of pond dechlorinator before I started filling it up with this tap water, so it should be okay. And after it's been filled, I'll stick in some more pond dechlorinator as well. I mean, the level had only dropped a bit, so I'm only just topping it up, so it shouldn't matter too much. Last weekend, the water lilies, I pulled them all out because they'd actually got so buoyant, the root structure was so big, that the whole plant pot floated to the surface. And also the Alodia crispia plants there was so many of that in the pond. It made like a tangled mass of lilies and Alodia on the surface, and it was kind of like a big raft floating on the surface. So I pulled it all out, and at the centre of it was this one basket that I had the lilies planted in. So a couple of years ago I started off with, I think, either 2 or 3 lilies just planted in here, and over the course of the 2 or 3 years they grew so much, they grew like a large root. This is called a rhizome, and you can see this one here I've just chopped off. I've been dividing the lilies up, so this is now one plant. You can see some live growth coming off it there. Got some flower buds and new leaves. And then here's another little separate plant. It does have a rhizome of its own. You just got to make sure each lily plant has its own rhizome. You can see it there, and then the long roots coming off it. So last weekend I planted 2 water lilies in the pond. I just divided the big rhizome up with a knife and just try to make a clean cut. That's what it said to do online anyways. So you can see the clean cut there. And I replanted it back up in here with a Hessian sack, and this is used to prevent all the mud and dirt you plant your lilies in. It prevents it from floating off into the pond and polluting the water. So that's what I was doing last weekend. These 2 water lilies, well, I think there's 2 in that pot. You can see here's one plant and there's the other plant coming up. And then there's a plant in this pot as well. So there's one pot there, one pot there. They've managed to stay down. And I planted these 2 lilies in this pot, and it's all just come floating up. It's been too buoyant. I mean, the actual mud I used was the spare roots off the other water lilies, so I just crammed them all in there with some pond slugs from the bottom, and it's proved to be too buoyant. And while I've been away at work during the week, it's all just floated up. So I tried to weight it down with these 2 rocks, but it just wouldn't stay down. So I'm just filling up the pond there. I might just ditch these water lilies because, to be honest, these 2 or 3 will probably cover that portion of the pond anyways. They'll probably cover half the pond once they reach the surface. The reason they haven't fully reached the surface yet is I pulled off all the longer leaves like this, because when it was a raft on the surface it had a few long leaves. I just pulled them off and started with new growth. So this is really good growth in a week. There's a little mosquito larvae down there. So yeah, they're grown nicely. I've pulled out a lot of the dead Alodia, and this is the good Alodia left in. You can see the water irises. They've got a nice covering of moss over them. I didn't put that in, that just grew by itself, climbing out the water, so that looks quite good. Quite encouraging for frogs and invertebrates and things to climb in and out the pond. You can see the grass is grown right up to the edge, which I'm really happy about. These water irises went crazy. You can see this was the original pot I planted them in, and that's just the hard roots left there now, and they've actually crept over the side and they're now in the pond itself. So I'll probably leave those just because they're doing so well. A lot of people would probably choose to thin them out, but I'm thinking of putting some marginal plants in, like so here. This is like a plant pocket area, or there. Get some marsh marigold in here. You can even plant things in the basket itself. So I've got plenty of space to plant other marginals in. This is the water mint coming back this year. This is starting to creep up the sides of the pond, which I like. It kind of blends the liner into the pond. Got the Ludwigia, hasn't started coming back yet. There's a few little shoots down there. That's Ludwigia, so that's coming back this year. You see the feathery roots of the water irises all down here. They should be filtering the water a bit. And I've just made a discovery. Actually, it's been in the net for quite a while now. Has got enough water. As I pulled this plant pot up before, sat in the bottom was a fish. I'll just show you it. It's probably getting a bit stressed out, so I'll release it, but I'll quickly show you it before I release it. It's a bronze coloured goldfish. Just let the camera focus there. Now I'll just let that go. There it goes. So I didn't actually know I had any fish in this pond. I've been away to work for a few months, and my mum is the only person who really looks after the pond when I'm away, and she said she hadn't seen any fish in, so she'd assumed either cats or birds had got them, or just disease had took them. But a couple of years ago, or a year ago, I put a video on of the goldfish fry, which actually were born in the pond. And all I can think is that must be one of the goldfish fry. It's a lovely colour, nice bronze. So I'm really happy about that. Today, once I've finished filling it up, I'm going to go to the garden centre, get some marginal plants, and I might get a couple of our little goldfish, because I think that's the only goldfish in the pond. It was sighted once before when I was home, and I've just found it there again. So I think there's just one goldfish in here, so probably get another little goldfish just about the same size, just to keep it company. Next addition to the pond. I've been busy last weekend. I should have really videoed it for you. I got a little pump down there just under the water, got some tubing for it. It's quite unsightly at the minute, so I'm going to try and bury that over the next few days to try and hide it. Waterfall's back operational. You see there's a not a lot of flow, but enough for this small pond, I think. And this isn't actually a solar pump. This is wired into the wall. That's where the solar panel used to be for the solar pump. And I made the mistake of just leaving it out in the winter. I didn't really think about it. I just left it out and it broke over winter. So I decided, you know what, I want filtration all the time, so I'll actually buy a wired pump. I've buried the cable. I used some garden hose pipe to protect the cable, and it just runs under here. Still a bit of tidying up to be done. I've drilled a hole through the conservatory and it's plugged in the conservatory wall with a surge protector. So that's what's going on with the pond. And next I'm going to go to the garden centre, get some marginal plants and get some more goldfish. So I'm just back from the garden centre now. I got 5 plants and 2 goldfish. So I've got 2 of these tropical looking plants, which are called plantain lilies. These are British grown, and I've been told they can survive here, so they look really nice and should provide some shade to the water at least. Then I've got 2 of these strong smelling spearmint plants, white water spearmint, just to thicken out behind the reeds over there. And then I've got some dwarf spearwort just to add a little touch of colour to the pond. Nice yellow flowers. And the fish are just acclimatising, floating in the pond. I've got 2 small red and white goldfish. I think they're either common goldfish or comets. So I'm just floating them at the minute. Then I'll add some pond water to equalise water chemistry, and then I'll net them out and put them in the pond. The pond stopped filling up now, and it is actually really clear. You can see to the bottom there, and can't really see the bottom of this bit, but it is clear. The sun has gone in and it started raining now because it is England. So I'll get these fish in. I'm going to plant these marginal plants behind the reeds there. Okay, so that's all the plants and the 2 little fish in now. So the plants I've just kind of wedged behind the water irises pots, and I've kept one of them in its own little pot just to see how that one does. If it gets too big, obviously I'll remove it. And the 2 little fish, there was some round for a bit, but I think they've just gone a bit shy and they're just hanging out down there underneath all the plants. Put some food in for them, hopefully they go for that. You can see it just there. So the water is quite clear. That fish is at the bottom of that shelf there. You can see as I filled up the water, it actually covered up the water lilies again, so hopefully in the next few days they should reach the top again. The pump is now fully covered and supplying the water for. And the last plant I planted is over here. I've just kept it in its own little pot. It's fine for now, it's still quite small, so it can kind of creep over this mossy area. So hopefully they get settled in. It's not the best pond in the world, but it's the best I can do on a budget. I'm pretty happy with it. I think over the next few weeks, as the lilies come to surface and start flowering, it'll look quite nice. And I'll let the fish get settled in too. So if you've got any suggestions, just leave them in the comment section. And in the coming next few days, I'm going to install a filter at the top of a waterfall, just like a trickle filter. Also I'm going to bury that pipework there so it looks a bit better. So yeah, that's coming in the next couple of days. So hope you enjoyed the video. Please leave a like, comment and subscribe.